Okay, so just to finish off where we left before lunch, when you are ready to print, know that it will print exactly what it shows here in the preview. So if you don't have grid lines, it will not print grid lines. This is exactly a replica of what it will print. And if you go on to a second or third or fourth page, it will show how many pages you have here. Now, a couple other things to look at. When you make it active, you can tell again how many pages you want it to print to and from. And then notice here, when you want to print what, is it like just a selected area of text that you have, or maybe it's not even text? Do you need to print the entire workbook or just that sheet you're on? It defaults to just the active sheet that you're on. And then you can also scale it down so it'll fit on one page. So if you have a whole bunch of big stuff and it goes like to 2 pages either going down or going across, you can scale it so it will fit one. Now there's another place you can scale so it will fit one. Cancel. And that would be right here, adjust to whatever size, or you could just tell it to fit to one page, either height or width or maybe both. Just know that sometimes if you have a whole bunch of text and you need to fit it to one page, it could make it itty bitty. Okay? One other thing I promised you we would talk about, and I know you're looking forward to it, is back here when we talk about simple formulas. So I said there's one thing you need to remember about Excel, and that is you can format using what keystroke? Command 1. Command 1 will let you format any cells. The other thing you need to remember about Excel is you absolutely cannot have a formula without the equal sign. For instance, if I tried to type, I'm just going to go here. If I tried to type 1 plus 2, it literally is only as smart as the person who is inputting data. So if I want Excel to tell me 1 plus 2, I need to tell it, hey, Excel, I'm doing a formula. Equals 1 plus 2. And then there's my answer. Now notice, you can't notice because I have Screencast-O-Matic on, but if you look really faintly up here, you can see it says equals 1 plus 2. And you're like, well done, Mrs. B, I could do all those on my own. So let's just do a quick little list. I'm just going to go to a new sheet. Why? Because I can. I'll make my screencast a little bit bigger. Okay, type with me. And let's start in cell A1. I'll make this a little bit bigger. In cell A1, let's type shoe size. And then we're just going to go down around the room, and you're going to tell me your shoe size, and we're going to type it in. We'll do it as a decimal, though, because fractions are really a booger. So, Peterson, go. 13. Holy smokes. In cell A3, Nelson?
7.
That's more like it. Still way bigger than mine, though. Meyer?
11.
Gavin? Magdans? Isaac? Kobe? 13. McKeely? Now remember, women's shoe sizes are like 2 different than men, so technically that's an 11, but we're not going to do the conversion because it's not really that big of a deal. I'm just showing you for illustrative purposes. Tommy?
5. You are not.
However, I wear a size 5. I just put in 5. Wow, you have the same size feet as big boy over here? Wow, that's cool. Susan? Huh?
7.
Warnicky? That's my shoe size. Paige? Oh, I think I told you wrong. I think it goes down. Women's go down.
Yeah, I was
We
really
do.
confused.
My bad. You don't have big feet like him. You have little feet. Dainty. Okay, so here we have all of our shoe sizes. So you're thinking, well, Mrs. B, yeah, I could manually add them. Think of Excel as a glorified calculator. Like, I honestly think if they taught you math using Excel, you'd be like, oh my gosh, it makes sense. Now, some people just get math and, like, it's there. For some people, you don't get math. Like, this would make math make sense, I think. So anyway, we're going to add up the range of A2 through A18. So I'm just going to put my active cell down here in A19. I'm going to type equals, and then I could do plus, 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 and click on all of these, but oh my gosh, that would be like forever. So Excel has put in some functions that will make your life a little bit easier. So if you go to this auto sum button, we're just going to click on that, and it tells me this formula equals the sum of the range A2 through A18. All I literally did was click on that auto sum button and it told me that. And I can hit enter and we're done. It tells me if I add up all of your feet together, I'd have 158.5. We could do that as an experiment. Not going to, but we could. You notice, so this gave you a formula. Equals. And then it had the word sum. So I could type that manually if I wanted to. Now, if you use Google, you do have to do that because they don't have those. But there are some basic ones that they kind of throw out as easy ones to you. But equals and sum, left parentheses, and then the range of this 2, whoops, the 2 is the colon, A, was it 18? Right parentheses. So I could manually type that. And it's, unless you know what you're doing with formulas, it's way more cumbersome than it needs to be. What if, though, on this range, when I do an auto sum, I decide Jacob's feet are like way too big, so I don't want to include him in this range. All I have to do, did you see that? I can click and drag on one of these handles, and I can resize to adjust my range. Now, could I manually go in and just change this so it said A3? Yeah. But this is just another shortcut that you could use. Or maybe I don't want to include Rachel because she's sitting on the end of that table. So then I will just have this range. Now notice what happens in this little left corner. I get this little green triangle. If you get a red triangle, that's really bad. Like usually you have an error. If you get this little green triangle, though, you can hover over the top of it. Maybe not when I'm zoomed in. Anyway, it will tell me basically that it didn't have adjacent cells or cells that were right next to each other when it calculated that answer. I want you to shorten this up so you can only read SH on it. So that cell is only as wide as SH. What happened to some of the cells? Yeah, if you see that pound sign, all those number symbols, that just means it can't read all the text that's in there. So all you have to do is just expand, and then it will fit. It's not going to do it with words, it only does it with numbers. If you happen to see something that is an error code, meaning like it says not valid or invalid, one that says hashtag or number sign and name, that means you have an error somewhere in a formula. If you happen to see something here that isn't an error, but you see a big blue circle, that means you've tried to make a circular reference and you've tried to add or subtract something that's in that cell that you're trying to do in, and you've got big problems. So that's bad. Blue circles, bad. So you'll want to not have that in there. Okay, so we've talked about auto sum. By the way, I could click on this and there's where it tells me that that's what that green triangle is. If I don't want to auto sum though, maybe I want the average of everybody's shoe sizes. So I'm going to click on this auto sum button and go down to average, and then it by default has the average of everybody's. So instead of adding them all up and dividing by, I'd have to count 16, 15, whatever it is, I could just hit enter and it tells me that. Now that's like a really big decimal number. So a couple ways to do that. I can go Command 1 and go into Format, and I can go to Number and tell it I only want 2 decimal places or only 1 decimal place, and hit OK, and then it will do that. Or I could use my toolbox, excuse me, and I can shorten up the decimals. Oops, gotta go the right way though. And it does the automatic rounding for you. See what I mean by this? Like, would have made math easier when you were a little kid and they're trying to teach you how to round. It just does it for you. So our average shoe size in here is 9.3, or probably 9.5 since you'd want to round up. Shoes don't come in 9.3. Oh, in your toolbox, under number, there's a decimal right here. You can shorten it up or lengthen it if I needed to. Or when you do a Command 1, you choose number, and then tell it how many decimal places you want. Let's bounce back to the book quickly. This formula, stuff that you are using for Unit I, is very simple. It is addition, it is subtraction. No, you're not even using subtraction in Unit I, but it's just simple formulas, very basic ones. This is going to have you multiply C8 and D8. What's the symbol for multiplication? The asterisk. It's above the what key? It's above the 8 key. How about the divided by symbol? Which one is that? It's the slash. Where is that located on your keyboard? Yeah, it's with the question mark. It's actually what the question mark would be if you didn't have the shift. Let me show you a couple more things. So let's just bump over to cell C2. And let's go ahead and do number of pairs of shoes that you own. And I'm just going to go one person randomly from each table. So let's start with Fenton. How many shoes do you own? Pairs of shoes, excuse me. Really? Good for you. Only 5. That's impressive. Paige, how about you? That's still also impressive. Maggie, how about you?
About 8.
Wow. You guys are not shoe fiends. Keely.
How do you own this?
Oh, I probably own closer to like 60 or 70 pair of shoes. So
You're not drawing stuff.
yeah, actually, all of my feet size changed after I had children. I used to be a 6.5 solid all the time. Now I'm up to a 7. Dang kids. Isaac, you seem like a shoe kind of guy.
I like 15, 12.
We'll do 12. Okay. Jacob, I want to hear your number then.
3.
He has tennis shoes, brown shoes, and maybe black shoes.
Just none of that.
Tennis shoes, dress shoes, and
Work shoes.
work shoes. Oh my gosh. You don't have like boots or anything? Or? Anyway. So the reason I asked you these numbers again, if you look back here, what we can do is we can tell, Excel can tell you, that you want to fill down formulas. So let's say I want to take these numbers, by the way, and I want to copy. So I'm just going to copy and I'm going to put them in D, and I'm going to put them in E, and so on and so forth. So if I go down now to C8, and I want to have all of these multiplied together, I take equals this times the, oops, not plus, oh my gosh, times. By the way, I'm just clicking in these cells. If you just click, it defaults to the plus sign. But then I'm just typing times and then clicking on the cell. You can also type, like I could just type C5 times this one times this one. There is a formula for this, by the way, but I'm just showing you for simplistic purposes so you actually can see this. If I hit enter, wow, that's a big number. If we multiply all of our number of shoes together. I don't know why you'd ever do that, but work with me on this. I can fill this either down or I can fill across with this formula. Notice right now, here's the magic, nothing's in cell D8. But if I click on that thin plus sign and I fill across, it copies that exact same formula. And it copies the exact same formula. Now you're like, well, duh, Bauermeister, of course it's going to do that. What if Jacob all of a sudden goes on a shopping spree? And I'm picking on Jacob because he's sitting close to me today. But what if Jacob goes on a shopping spree and he like gets 6 new pair of shoes? The beauty of Excel is you're not just adding stagnant numbers. I can change that and it automatically changes because I used a formula with a cell reference. So Jacob has 6 pair of shoes, so I could make this say equals 3 plus 6, or I could have manually just typed 9 in there. Look at that. You made our whole number go up. But notice these other two didn't move. It just automatically adjusted for what this is. Let me drag screen Craftomatic up, and there you can see